In 1934, Swedish archaeologists discovered well-preserved ancient Caucasian mummies in Xinjiang, China, which were named Tarim after the arid depression. The burial grounds associated with this population were barely studied until the end of the 20th century. Multiple excavations in the 1990s through the 2000s reveal numerous remains of a most mysterious people who lived around 2100 to 200 BC, whose bodies were naturally mummified. Only in the Xiaohe burial ground did archaeologists find 350 burials, 190 of which were unfortunately looted or destroyed. While it may be puzzling as to why there are mummies in the middle of the desert in China, that's not the most confusing aspect about this find. These people, as previously mentioned, were Caucasian. So, how did they get there? The Tarim population was engaged in a productive economy, raising cattle and small ruminants and cultivating some crops, for example wheat or barley, despite the very limited terrain for this. The preservation of organic materials made it possible to find out that the Tarim people knew how to make dyed woolen fabrics, cheeses, and used them not just for eating, but also for funeral rites, which was distinguished by sufficient originality. Thus, the dead, as a rule, were buried in coffins in the form of wooden boats, and the funerary implements often included intoxicating substances. So, while their coffins were originally mistaken to be boats, they were in fact not at all. It would be quite odd if they were boats, considering the fact that there's no major body of water close by the location of the burial sites. But that still doesn't explain where the Caucasoid Tarim people originate from. There are two main hypotheses about where the Tarim population came from to Xinjiang about 4,000 years ago. The main assumption was that they are the descendants of the cattle-breeding tribes of the Eurasian steppes, belonging to the Afanasivo or later Andronovo culture. According to the other theory, these were migrants from Central Asia, associated with the Bactrian-Margian archaeological complex. The first studies of ancient mitochondrial DNA did not bring significant clarity, and in 2019, scientists from France and Russia came to the conclusion that the Afanasivians were not associated with the Tarim population. So, with that possibility out of the picture, Fan Zhang from Jilin University sought a new approach to the mystery. Together with scientists from Germany, China, the United States, and South Korea, Zhang conducted a study of the ancient DNA of 5 people who lived around 3000 to 2800 BC in the Jungar Depression, and 13 people who lived around 2100 to 1700 BC in the Tarim Basin. In total, paleogeneticists succeeded in sequencing complete genomes in 18 out of 33 cases. In addition, 10 new radiocarbon datings were obtained using accelerator mass spectrometry. As it turns out, the oldest population of the Xinjiang forms several separate clusters. The Jungarian individuals from the Aituan and the Songsugao sites located near Gorny Altai turned out to be genetically close to the Afanasivites. And the samples from the Nikele site differed from them by a slightly greater similarity with the Tarim population. Tarim mummies from the Xiaohe and the Gumugao burial grounds turned out to be close to the population of the steppe zone of the Stone Age, as well as to the Siberian population descending from the ancient northern Eurasians. The DNA of a Tarim man from the Beifang site, according to geneticists, is closer to the population of the early Bronze Age from the Baikal region. The research team studying the site noted that there is a close relationship between the Jungarian and the Tarim populations. The former, however, received a significant genetic contribution from the West Eurasian population, and the latter was closer to individuals who lived, for example, in the area of modern Krasnoyarsk during the last glacial maximum, which was about 17,000 years ago. It turns out that the model of the genetic pedigree of the Jungarian population happened to be like so: 50 to 70% Afanasivan, 19 to 36% Tarim people, and 9 to 21% Baikal population of the early Bronze Age. The results of this study showed that the Tarim formed a homogeneous population, despite the fact that the monuments are separated from each other by 600 kilometers of desert terrain. The model of the genetic pedigree of the Tarim people is as follows: 72% are residents of Mount Afontova in the Upper Paleolithic, and 28% are residents of the Baikal from the early Bronze Age. The genetic profile of the Tarim population, according to researchers, was formed 183 generations ago, which is, give or take, 986 to 9,157 years ago, considering the average generation length was 29 years. The researchers also analyzed the Tatar proteomes of 7 Tarim mummies found in the Xiaohe burial ground. In all 7 individuals, scientists found protein specific to ruminant milk, related to cattle, sheep and goats. This confirmed that the pastoralist way of life has been characteristic of the local population since its inception in the region. Thank you for watching a very brief episode of Amateur Archaeology today. We'd like to thank Ancient Library for helping us with the creation of this video. We'll include a link to the description to the Facebook page, which recently hit 1.5 million followers. We recently hit a milestone ourselves, hitting 1,000 subscribers, which isn't anywhere near 1.5 million, but it's most definitely a start. If you'd like to help us grow even more, we just launched our membership program, and we'd really appreciate it if you join. Every little bit helps the channel go a long way in helping us create more content. In the meantime though, we'll see you next time, only on Amateur Archaeology.